Well, hey folks, welcome back to The Slice. I'm Stephen Boughton, as you know, and we have some big news to talk about. Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic are out at the Monte Carlo Masters. It's amazing because Rafael Nadal's won it 11 times, and it was only the quarterfinals today, and he lost. We're going to get into that. We're also going to get into how Djokovic lost to Dan Evans, who I think had only won 4 matches on clay before their match. We're going to get into how that happened and how it affects like the clay swing and the French Open favorites going forward.
I go fair. He looked at me and I go,
Coming at you from the Delray Beach Open, Miami Open, down here at the grounds of India.
Novak and
We are here with the man, Milos Raonic.
Welcome to the Slice.
Well, hey folks, thanks for tuning in. Welcome back to The Slice. This is the show where the true tennis fans like yourself get into the details of what's going on in pro tennis. First of all, check out the new threads. This is a sneak preview of our first ever hoodie that's coming out. Little court graphic. Becca and I are working on it. This is like a prototype, not finished yet, but let me know if you would like one of these in the comment section below. Trying to keep it a little bit more casual. Anyways, also check out the Patreon show, the Front Row Show. It is where when we ever go to tournaments with press passes, virtual press passes, real press passes, when the pandemic ends, we take your questions and ask it to the pros. So it's a really great way to support the show and help this type of independent journalism keep going. But without further ado, Nadal loses to Rublev today. I watched the match, and right from the start, we knew that the Rafa Nadal that we're used to seeing, especially at the Monte Carlo Masters, was not really there. I think he double faulted twice in the opening game, which you're like, that's weird. And usually when he has weird things with his serve going on, it can often be his back, but we didn't hear anything about his back in the press conference afterwards. Not that I was in it, because Monte Carlo made it like impossible to get a pass. But a lot of questions here because he lost to Rublev. Not saying that Rublev isn't an amazing player, but it's just Nadal on clay. It's always a massive story if he's going to lose. Let's look at some of the stats. Nadal 7 double faults, way higher than I think it's higher than he's ever done in like a number of years in a single match. 57% first serves in, that's very low. 56% first serves won, that's also extremely low. Usually when players can get the first serve in, it's a little less on clay because the ball's slower, but that's still pretty low. He was 4 for 12 on break points, only 1 out of every 3. I can do math, 30%, 33.33%, math guy. And broken 7 times by Andrei Rublev. So obviously just crazy numbers, like almost more Nadal-esque numbers from Rublev than from Nadal. So if you're watching the replay the highlights, if you watch the whole match, what I saw was Nadal being pushed farther off the baseline than Rublev was. I've talked to Rublev before, and when he plays guys who hit big, he says he wants to go bigger and just try and hit them off the court. But when he plays guys who don't miss and are consistent, he wants to tone it back a lot because he knows that he can't just go for broke and miss a lot of shots because then he'll lose the match. So when you're playing a guy like Nadal on clay, what does he do? I was interested before the match because I know Nadal hits huge on clay, can blast it by anyone, but he can also not miss and just play that amazing tactical defensive game. So what does Rublev do? Well, Rublev played basically the perfect match. He stepped up, stayed on the baseline, hit big, but hit with margin, and just pushed Nadal around more than Nadal pushed Rublev around. Nadal tried to go into Rublev's backhand a lot up the line with his backhand or cross court with his forehand. But Rublev did a really good job at staying strong on that side. And then whenever there was pace, used the pace on a good angle, even though it was out wide, he would get cross court really well with his backhand. And that would hurt Nadal because then Nadal's on the run. And he didn't just really, he's like we've talked about, getting older. The big 3 are getting older. So that's the main storyline. I think that Rublev was able to play more of his game throughout most of the match, and that's kind of what these pros want to do to each other. They want to get each other off their game, and they want to play on their own terms. So Rublev did a better job at that. Nadal did not have his best stuff today, that's for sure, obviously, especially serving, but just so many unforced errors. So after the match, he said, I hope this is a one-off. I don't want this to affect my next month. It's super important, which is obvious. What does this change for him being the favorite at the French Open? I would say absolutely nothing, basically. He lost in the 2019 version of this to Fabio Fognini, and he ended up winning. So Nadal is going to be the favorite at the French Open until he retires. If they wheel him back in a wheelchair at 80 years old, I'd still put him as the top 3 favorites. So don't get it twisted. This doesn't mean that much. I think it just means that Nadal was rusty after taking a time off all the way from the Australian Open, and he got terrible. He didn't get any rhythm against Dimitrov because Dimitrov had a toothache. Anyways, that was Nadal. what do you think happened? Rublev also returned amazing, obviously winning almost half of the times that Nadal got his first serve in. So that's big time for Rublev. Super happy for him. He was stoked. He couldn't believe it. And people forget how good he is on clay because he hits the ball fast. And people are like, oh, big hitter, love fast court. Not all the time. Some guys like a little bit more time to line up their shots. So that was amazing. Into Djokovic. Djokovic lost to Dan Evans in the third round of the Monte Carlo Masters. Weird start to this match. Djokovic was apparently late to the match, so I think he got a time warning violation right off the start. But I'm not sure. It was this confusing. It's hard to see on the TV, but that was reported afterwards. Anyways, Dan Evans, friend of the show, as you guys know, we love Dan. Djokovic did not have his best level, just like Nadal. Right from the start, you could kind of see that he was not very emotional at all. It's like he's kind of confused as to what's happening. Dan Evans used this slice like he does to annoy Djokovic and to like not give Djokovic pace to use, which Djokovic likes to do. He likes to counterpunch. Dan Evans is a smart player. He's 30 years old. He didn't do that. Dan Evans played one of his best matches I've ever seen, especially on the clay. Like I think he's only won 4 matches on clay before this match, and Djokovic just didn't have the goods. Again, like Nadal, it was like a match where Djokovic didn't have the goods, and most times throughout his career when he doesn't have the goods, he still wins. The big three find a way to win when they're not at their best usually, but if you come up against a player like Rublev with Nadal or Dan Evans who are playing very good and they're solid, then they can be in trouble. So this was a straight sets win. It wasn't routine by any chance. There was breaks backs in the second set, but Dan Evans just, he lost to Federer at Doha, and it was really close. And he said, I'm disappointed. You just have to win these matches when you have a position to do so. And he put himself in position against Djokovic, and he got over the hump and won the match. So I'm happy for Dan. Sad for Djokovic. He didn't have his best on the day, but I'm sure he'll get it back in Madrid, and he will still be the second favorite at the French Open, or third if you put Thiem ahead of him, which, at this point it's kind of a toss-up. But Dan Evans, in classic Dan Evans fashion, had a little sound off on Djokovic at the end. He said, he kept me waiting at the start of the match in the changing room a little bit, Evans said. It was a little annoying, so I was ready to go from that. Got me a little extra fired up. I love hearing that from Dan Evans. Some people call him Dirty Dan. Some people call him Dusty Dan. He's just the best. He's a friend of the show, like we said, and we cheer for him. Or I cheer for him at least. So what are your thoughts on the Djokovic loss as well? The semifinals are now set, though. We got Evans versus Tsitsipas. Tsitsipas, I'm going to back him for sure in this match. He's looking so good right now, looking so strong. I think it's like his 4th or 6th quarterfinal of the year so far. Every tournament he's played, he's made it to at least the quarterfinals. Great consistency. And I think he's just too long, has too many weapons on the surface for Evans. And then we got Casper Ruud versus Rublev. And if Rublev plays the way he did today, I think Ruud doesn't have much of a chance. So I think we're looking at a Tsitsipas-Rublev final. And I think it's time for Tsitsipas to get his first Masters 1000. I think it's time. He had a very good chance last week or 2 weeks ago in Miami. Lost her, kind of got tight, I think, against Hurkacz and didn't win. Didn't get through there, but I think this is his time. So I'm taking Tsitsipas from here on in. That's my explanation of how Djokovic and Nadal lost. What do you guys think happened? What do you think happened? Also, let me know about the hoodie. We got a little court graphic here. I think it's looking fresh. This is going to be a limited time offer. We also got a t-shirt coming out to accompany it. Thanks for the support, folks. We appreciate you liking this video if you did, subscribing, and sharing your comments below. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching that video, but before you head out and go to a tennis store and possibly purchase some new gear, don't do that without going to courtsidesports.com, where you can get brand new rackets like the new Pure Drive, the new Pro Staff, the new Uber Sonic from Adidas for 10% off. Because we love you, because you're a tennis fan, Courtside Sports is hooking you up. So link below, check out our discount code SLICE10 for 10% off.